Okay, I've got to change out my brake pads. I doubt you can see it, but the actual pad is right up against the disc, and you can't really see the padding itself. You can only see the outside of the plate. But yeah, they're pretty much gone. It's not really that hard. I don't even think I have to take the caliper off. Although if I did, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. To get the caliper off, you just undo this bolt, and then there's going to be another one up here somewhere, I think, and it should come down. I already did the fronts. The fronts didn't take too long, but what you do is, I gotta do this through the camera. See this thing? You gotta take that cap out, and behind that cap is the pin, which is right here. And that pin, you will come out this way and let the pads out. That's the only thing holding the brake pads in, is this pin right here. So you undo that, and then because they change thickness, the pistons squeeze in, and then when you let off, they back out a little bit, but they don't back out much. And as the pad goes, they squeeze further and further and further in, and they don't come out much at all. Well, the new pads are a lot thicker than that, so you've got to push the pistons back out. Well, Honda says that if I grab the caliper and pull, it'll do it. And what it is this side of the caliper doesn't move. The other side has the pistons in it. So as it closes, the whole caliper moves that way. And that way you keep your tolerances here as well as on the other side. And they say that if I grab it and pull it out that way, it should compress them. But I don't really like doing it that way. It just seems like it'd be a pain in the ass because those things are really hard to move. With the front, I drop the caliper off and then just put a screwdriver in there and kind of pry them back that way. You don't want to do that with new pads because you can fuck up the pad surface, but with old pads, who cares? You're going to throw them away anyway. So I am going to get that pin out and see about getting those pads out. I'll be back. Okay, so here's one pad. Here's the other disc in the middle, right? That's the pin. Goes through like this. Just, you can see only part of it's threaded. So once you get the threads out, usually you'll probably have to put something in here to knock it out. But then the pads should more or less just pop out. Now they are spring loaded, so it's not going to be perfect, but so you get in there and just kind of work it back a little bit, and you might be able to see it, I don't know, but that's pushing those pistons back at least a little. And you're gonna have to get them to come back a little bit. That's supposed to just slide out. Okay, there's one. There we go. Okay. Getting old. So there's your brake pad. I don't have the new ones out here, but you see this is the braking surface right here, and you can see how thin they are. Let me go get the new ones and I'll show you the difference. Okay, apparently on this one you do have to take the whole caliper off, because here's one mount, here's the other mount. That one was much harder to get out than you might think, but the problem is that this right here, which is the linkage for the Lynx brake system, gets in the way. And here's just the caliper. See, the brake pads go in here. The pistons are those three circles right there, and when you apply the brakes, they push this way out, and it drags the whole caliper over so that both sides mate up against the disc anyway. Right here right in here. You can barely see the, there's a spring, and there's also a spring down there, but the one that's down on the bottom won't come out. The one on the end will. So you gotta watch out. If that does pop out, it's not a big deal. You just grab it and put it back before you put the pads in. So, here's your old pad, right? See the thickness right there? And here's the new one. See how much difference there is? This pad still had a little bit of life left, but for the most part, it's toast. I probably could have put another 1,000 miles on it. Just wouldn't want to. And you'll notice they look identical, right? And then here's the other side. Okay. Now that pin goes through that hole, these two holes, and that spring I was talking about that will fall out is what this piece goes up against. And it's pretty foolproof to put them in and take them out. You just make sure that the curvature follows the disc, and otherwise, you know, you really can't screw it up. Now, when you take the entire caliper off, see a little bit of red down in there? It's red Loctite. There's a little bit left on the bolt. Ideally, you want to replace that stuff. I don't have any, so I just torque the piss out of it and be done with it. I will, next time I go to the hardware store, which will be soon, I'm gonna buy some red Loctite and pull all these bolts out again and Loctite the hell out of them and put them back. More often than not, you've got a steel bolt going into a steel threaded hole, which is on the caliper. So stripping the bolt is going to be really hard with a standard size socket, but it is possible, so you don't want to torque it down too much. But for the most part, you can stand on it and it won't go anywhere. It's like a lug nut. They have to be strong, really. If you've ever wondered what a single-sided swing arm looks like, you've got the chain drive over here, and then the center hub where the actual swing arm is right there. Oh, my hand's in the way. There you go. And then the brake is over here, and the wheel, you got lug nuts. It's just like a car tire where the brake is actually inside the wheel, and it keeps the tire nice and lined up. On this bike, in order to get the wheel off with the exhaust system that I've got, you've got to take the entire exhaust system off. So there's the headers. And in a stroke of, anyway, installation is the exact opposite of removal. So I'm going to spare you the details. Getting everything lined up can be a bit of a pain in the ass. Getting that pin to go through. You see that little ring right there? That looks all deformed and fucked up. What the hell? That doesn't fit through that hole quite so easily, especially not on the factory one. And they don't want to line up naturally, so you got to work at it a little bit to get that in. But otherwise, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Anyway, I'm out. One other thing, I'm wearing gloves because that shit's dirty. And don't forget to pump the brakes because they're gonna be, they're not gonna be mated up properly. So you have to pump the brakes until the pads hit the disc. You're not gonna have brakes. It usually takes 1 or 2 good pumps, but just make sure you do that before you take off riding, or make sure you have enough room wherever you're riding before you have to hit the brakes, because you're not gonna have any for a few seconds.